hear it?
Can you read thoughts? Can you read palms? Can you predict the future? Can you see storms coming?
Be patient. Sabali.
What up, y'all? Welcome to Piece to Part. I am your girl, Miss Ruby, and I got the request to break down Patience by Nas featuring Damian Marley from a subscriber of mine named Eric Wayne. Now, as much as I want to play this song so you can hear it, I cannot because of copyright law, so I highly suggest you go listen to it before or after watching this video. Alright? Let's go. Firstly, the hook of the song is a sample from the original song, Sabali. Listening to the original will give you a better insight and understanding of where Nas and Damien were coming from and their inspiration for this song. It begins with a chorus that repeats, Sabali, 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 on that. And the entire lyrics that make up the chorus translate to patience, patience, patience is good if you love someone. If you take nothing else from this song, that is enough right there. You can apply that message to just about anything in life and be enriched. But if you really want substance, keep listening. The lyrics are going to be scrolling along with me as I talk, so follow along, alright? Some of the smartest dummies can't read the language of Egyptian mummies. So what is a smart dummy? Well, to me, it's the same thing as an educated fool. And the point I think Damien is trying to make is that it's a person who is educated on the teachings of the world they've grown up in, but are not thoroughly enlightened about its origin. Egyptian language is one of the earliest languages recorded, so using this as an example is like emphasizing the time difference and proving the point that there's no way we can really know. Now, Damien is Jamaican, so it might be difficult to understand his dialect, but when he says a fly go a moon, I think he's basically saying these educated fools can pull together enough resources to fly to the moon, but cannot figure out how to get enough money to feed the starving people here on Earth. Where are our priorities? It's like sending money overseas to restore the condition of another country and overlooking the depravity in your own city. But you feel good about it though, right? Pay no mind to the youth because it's not like the future depends on it, but save the animals in the zoo because the chimpanzees, then will make big money. Now, I know this next stanza might piss some people off, but I kind of feel them. I mean, there are organizations out there literally with millions of members who contribute millions of dollars per year to protect animals and then complain about the education system that's treading on thin ice, that barely has enough funding year in, year out. Again, where are our priorities? Also, I want you guys to know he did not mean that literally. I know sometimes rappers say things and you guys forget that they are being sarcastic, and so a lot of their messages are misconstrued, but he meant that entirely sarcastically. This is how the media pillages. Now, this next stanza really makes you wonder. To pillage is to rob, and when you join the first four lines, Damien is explaining how the media displays Africa, home of the Egyptian pyramids, as being dangerous and desolate, and they have all these facts to prove their point, but again, they don't truly know its origin. Pyramids are still considered a wonder of the world, right? So in a way, Damien is saying the media is robbing people of the truth and instead feeding us the worst images we could possibly see of the motherland, and then they go and make money off of our pity that was manipulated in the first place. If you watch an interview with Nas and Damien in relation to their album Distant Relatives, they explain how they believe a lot of history is left out of formal education, including the fact that Africa is the birthplace to a lot of things, and so that's where they're trying to keep their focus. Evangelists are the denomination of Christians who take the teachings in the Bible extremely literal and are usually the ones who create television programming aimed at collecting donations for the starving children. So Marley feels like they're creating a false stereotype. You buy khaki pants and all of a sudden say you Indiana Jones. Y'all remember Indiana Jones? Well, for the most part it was entertainment, but it was a movie whose main character was the professor of archaeology, archaeology being the study of past human life. And what do? They did explore, take samples, etc. So Marley is using this reference to add to the point that scientists are so hung up on knowing everything that they'll go as far as stealing ancient remnants and bones from old places to study them and draw their own conclusions, but are so inaccurate. Kind of like the paparazzi does to celebrities. So the ones in the West will never move east and feel that they'll be at home. I'm really feeling this line because y'all can't say it ain't true. We've all seen the commercials that make Africa and other countries look poor, dirty, uninteresting. We are the ones in the West Damien is talking about. And here's where it gets more interesting. Them get tricked by the beast means we, the Westerners, get tricked by our own nation into believing that places like Africa are all bad, right? But what's gonna happen when our nation is unsalvageable? We'll be heading right on back to the motherland. Solomonic lineage. Do y'all see that? Like, who talks about that these days? Like, who even brings up King Solomon anymore? Not that he's not important, but most times when you hear King Solomon being discussed, it's in church, right? Turns out he was one of the wisest men to ever walk the earth, and his lineage includes his writings, his teachings, his literature. Damien says that the scientists can't reinvent that because they're not even searching for it. But it's a wisdom that is encrypted in his spiritual DNA. Overall, I think the message in Damien's first verse is open your eyes and realize that a lot of what you know has been taught to you by people who didn't even know in the first place. So be patient and seek wisdom instead of physical possessions, and in turn, you will possess much more. Second verse. Are we born not knowing, or are we born knowing all? Here's where Damien takes time to set up a bunch of questions to really make you think. And you know they say, the best way to learn is to ask the right questions. Answering them reaffirms that there's so much we don't know. So again, where are our priorities? Scientists devote their lives to figuring out how plants, animals, and space came about and don't really question too much what the purpose of life is. Religious people do the opposite. Him pointing out that at one point the earth was considered flat and now it's considered round is just a way to discredit science and its flaws. The next stanza is aimed at discrediting modern education and its lack of truth. I think this is his way of subtly taking a jab at the fact that the Bible is no longer taught in schools, but what do y'all think? A lot of people are either or when it comes to that matter, but I think Damien, believing in the Bible, does believe that the teachings in the Bible are truth. And everything else is man's mere discoveries, packaged to entail a considerable truth, but again, none of them are thorough enough to be convincing. For instance, the fact that science can discover all of these things but still can't find a cure for the common cold. Ask yourself these questions and see if you can understand where Damien is coming from. Me, I'd like to give this portion of the song 6 stars out of 5. Why? Not only did he ride the beat with a contagious rhythm, so much so that y'all were listening to this song without even understanding what the man was saying, but he also went above and beyond to discuss topics that are not generally touched on. I respect that. For the sake of time, I'm going to try to get through Nas's verses very quickly, okay? So he starts off setting us up with a bunch of questions. And even though Nas believes in God, just like I do, he's also aware that despite the claims of divine inspiration, the Bible was written by a man, or many men. So just like people being scientifically dependent on figuring out life, some people can be over-religious. And in both cases, we have to humble ourselves and accept that we really don't know. What's hue? What's man? What's human? What is hue? The dictionary says it's one of the main properties of color. That's interesting. The 52 Fakers line, I really think he's talking about a deck of cards. I know a lot of people think he's talking about the 52 states that make up the United States, but the reason why I think he's talking about cards is because when fortune tellers and supposed psychics pull out a deck of cards and say they have answers, they assign symbology, personality traits, and etc. to each one of the characters, numbers, or symbols represented on the cards. In addition to that, Nas follows that lineup with gypsy seances and mystical prayers, which all relate to people who believe they have the answers, in which case he's saying they're fakers. Are you superstitious? Throwing salt over your shoulder? Spitting on the broom after somebody sweeps you? Avoiding the cracks in the street so you don't break your mama back? Well, those things are superstitious acts. Me, I don't have time to be superstitious, and I've never actually witnessed anything that makes me feel like I need to be. I do believe in a higher power beyond myself, but luck, not so much. It's like somebody got a doll of me. In this stanza, Nas is expressing his concern that somebody might be using voodoo on him. But since he's not superstitious, naive, or weak, he doesn't feel it. It doesn't affect him. And his concluding stanza references his real-life experiences that reinforce why he doesn't have time to be superstitious or over-religious. He's also being transparent and admitting that he doesn't have all the answers, and he still has a lot of questions just like us. This is the duo's gift of wisdom for us, the listeners. It's probably like 2 years old, but will always be relevant, so as they're trying to tell us, don't take life too seriously. And if you're going to seek answers, seek truth and respect history, not false propaganda, science, and of course, magic. As always, I probably got a lot more to say about this song, so leave your comments in the box below and let's get this discussion poppin'. Thank you for tuning in to Piece to Part Music today. Come back next week for my next lyrical breakdown. And until next time, peace.